They taught you that silence is safety, that blending in protects you. But every time you stay quiet, you hand over a piece of your power to someone who never earned it. You were conditioned early, not with chains, not with violence, but with something quieter, something that felt like care. They told you not to make a scene, not to cause trouble, not to embarrass yourself or them. And you believed it was wisdom, but it was training, training you to swallow your truth, training you to suppress what you saw, training you to become invisible when their comfort depended on it. Silence became your survival strategy, your shield, your way of avoiding conflict. But what you did not see was how that same silence became their weapon. Every time you stayed quiet when something felt wrong, you gave permission, not with words, but with absence, with the space you refused to fill. And they learned that you would not resist, that you would not name what was happening, that you could be pushed further next time. This is how control works, not through force, but through your own retreat. The person who benefits from your silence does not need to threaten you. They only need to make speaking feel dangerous, uncomfortable, inappropriate, dramatic. They shift the weight. They make you responsible for the tension, for the awkwardness, for the disruption. So you stay quiet, not because you agree, but because speaking feels like stepping into fire. And that hesitation is exactly what they counted on. Silence is not neutral. It never was. In every moment you choose not to speak, you choose a side. You choose to protect the system, the lie, the person who gains from your compliance. This is the part they never taught you. That silence has a cost, that it accumulates, that it builds a version of yourself that is smaller, more bent, more afraid. You start to lose your voice in ways you cannot measure, not just in big moments, but in small ones, in daily exchanges, in the way you hesitate before disagreeing, in the way you apologize for taking up space. Your silence becomes a habit, a reflex, a part of your identity you no longer question, and the people around you adjust. They stop asking your opinion. They stop considering your needs. They stop expecting you to challenge anything. You become a background character in your own life. But here is what they do not tell you, what they cannot afford for you to know. Your voice is not just sound, it is proof. Proof that you exist, that you matter, that you see what is happening. And the moment you speak, something shifts. The power they borrowed from your silence begins to dissolve. This terrifies them. Not because your words are violent, but because your words are true. And truth disrupts carefully built illusions. So they respond. They do not engage with what you said. They engage with how you said it, with your tone, your timing, your audacity. They call you aggressive, emotional, difficult, sensitive, dramatic. They reframe your courage as a character flaw, and if you are not prepared for this, you will believe them. You will retreat. You will apologize. You will go back to being quiet, and they will have won again. Not through logic, but through shame. This is the cycle, and it repeats until you recognize it, until you see that their reaction is not proof that you were wrong. It is proof that you were right, because people who benefit from your silence will always punish you for breaking it, not with fairness, but with deflection, with gaslighting, with social pressure. They will make you doubt yourself, make you feel like the problem, make you wonder if maybe you should have just kept your mouth shut. But that doubt is not insight. It is conditioning. It is the residue of every time you were taught that your truth was too much, too loud, too inconvenient. You have to separate what you feel from what was planted in you. Not all discomfort is wrong. Not all tension is your fault. Not all conflict is something to avoid. Sometimes conflict is clarity. Sometimes tension is growth. Sometimes discomfort is the price of not betraying yourself, and if you never pay that price, you will spend your life managing other people's comfort at the expense of your own integrity. This is not sustainable. It is not noble. It is not kindness. It is self-erasure. The people who love you will not ask this of you. They will not require your silence to feel safe. They will not punish you for having boundaries, for asking questions, for naming what you see. They will make space for your voice, even when it challenges them, even when it makes them uncomfortable, because they value you more than they value control. But the people who need your silence will never stop needing it. They will never say enough. They will never reach a point where your compliance satisfies them. They will always find another boundary to cross, another request to make, another moment where your voice threatens their comfort. And you will have to choose, not once, but over and over, between their approval and your truth, between their ease and your dignity, between their power and yours. This choice is not easy. It never is, because the consequences are real. You may lose relationships, opportunities, the version of yourself that everyone got used to, but you will gain something more valuable. You will gain yourself back, the part that knows, that sees, that refuses to pretend anymore. And that part is where your power lives, not in aggression, not in cruelty, but in the simple, radical act of being honest, of saying what is true even when your voice shakes, even when no one agrees, even when you stand alone. Because silence does not protect you. It protects the system that needs you small, the dynamic that needs you confused, the person that needs you compliant. And the moment you stop protecting that system, you start protecting yourself. This does not mean you speak recklessly. It does not mean you weaponize your words. It means you stop treating your truth like a threat. You stop apologizing for existing fully. You start to notice where you shrink, where you edit yourself, where you perform a version of you that requires less, takes up less, challenges less, and you start to stop, not all at once, but in moments, in small refusals, in quiet rebellions against your own silence. You answer honestly when someone asks how you are. You say no without a paragraph of justification. You name what you see without softening it into something more palatable. And each time you do, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was traded for acceptance, for peace, for the illusion of safety. Because real safety does not come from being quiet. It comes from being known, from being seen as you are, from building a life that does not require you to hide. And that life starts the moment you decide your voice matters more than their comfort, that your truth matters more than their version of you, that your power matters more than their control. They want you silent because silence gives them everything: your energy, your compliance, your permission, your power. But the moment you speak, the game changes, and they know it. That is why they fight so hard to keep you quiet, why they make it costly, why they punish and shame and gaslight, because your voice is the one thing they cannot control, the one thing they cannot take, the one thing that belongs only to you. And when you use it, you stop being a participant in your own silencing. You stop being a supporting character in someone else's story. You stop being the person who swallows truth to keep the peace. You become the person who knows that some peace is not worth keeping, that some relationships are not worth saving, that some versions of yourself are not worth protecting, and you become free, not from consequences, but from the prison of pretending, from the exhaustion of hiding, from the cost of being silent when everything in you is screaming. This is the power they do not want you to find, the power that lives in your throat, in your truth, in your refusal to disappear. They taught you that silence protects you, but it only protects them. Your voice is not the danger. Your silence is, because every word you do not speak becomes a brick in someone else's wall, and the prison they are building is yours. Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to create 2 videos every day. I am counting on your support. See you in the next video.